Well, it's Labor Day, but there's no holiday for the Morning Pit. We are back here on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com 2 days later to recap what happened in that game against Wofford. We talked a lot after the game on the post-game show, but now we've had another day or two to process. So let's get into it again. Let's talk about Phil Dracovic. Let's talk about some of the substitutions, some of the personnel, some of the rotations, and lots to cover on both sides of the ball on today's Morning Pit to get your week started on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. All right, the Labor Day edition of the Morning Pit, youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. I'm Chris Peak from Panther-Lair.com. You know the website below, Panther-Lair.com, Pittsburgh.rivals.com. The most comprehensive source of Pitt sports news on the internet, football, basketball, and recruiting. You find it all at Panther-Lair.com and message boards to interact with hundreds and thousands of other Pitt fans all day, every day. Panther-Lair.com. Pitt fans are on there talking all the time. All the things that we talk about right here, I swear, half the topics and takes and things that I have to say on this show, on these Morning Pit videos, come from the message boards. You know what I mean? There's popular topics. There's things that people are obviously and naturally talking about. And then, I sort of read the room, I guess, take the temperature of the Pitt fans. And that informs part of what we say and talk about and do here. On the Morning Pit and on the live show and all the things we do at youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. A lot of it comes from there. And so if you want to be part of that conversation, you want to go where Pitt fans are, you want to be a part of the best online Pitt community that you're going to find, it's at Panther-Lair.com, Pittsburgh.rivals.com. And of course, our YouTube channel right here, youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. You can get all of our video content, these Morning Pit videos, Monday through Friday, press conferences, interviews, highlights, our weekly live show every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Me and Jim Hammett from Panther-Lair.com talk Pitt sports. The live post-game show like we did on Saturday after the Wofford game. It was fun to get back into that groove. Always enjoy that. Everybody gets a beer and has a little chat about the game. Those are always the most fun live streams. Win or lose, we always find plenty to talk about. And yeah, like just a lot of Pitt video content. It's right here at youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. So like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And then right there, you see them sweet Pitt logos. Now that image is going to pop up again and again. You know where it's from. It's Home Field Apparel. HomeFieldApparel.com is the best place to get Pitt gear and gear for about 150 other colleges across the country. If you're already maxed out on Pitt stuff and you want to get something to sort of branch out a little bit, you want to get your Sam Houston State. I shouldn't say that. I don't know if they have Sam Houston State or at all, but that just happened to be on my mind. I'm not really sure. Not really sure why. But look, I can't say enough about Home Field. I mean, they just consistently pump out some of the coolest college sports gear that you're going to find. And their Pitt logos are unmatched. I mean, they really are. I don't like to say vintage because they're more of just a classic look. It's instantly recognizable as Pitt. And without being, just sort of a jersey or something like that. They're just great classic Pitt looks. And on a high quality t-shirt. I mean, they're soft, they hold their shape. They're just a really great product. And we've of course got our special promo code that you can use all fall long. When you go to homefieldapparel.com, you place your first order, you use the promo code LAIR23, LAIR23. That's LAIR and the numbers 23, all one word, no spaces. LAIR23, LAIR23, and you get 15% off your first order. So you get some of the best Pitt gear you're going to find, and you can get it at a discount right now. HomeFieldApparel.com, promo code LAIR23. Don't forget to do that. Go over, and I don't think you'll be disappointed. All right, a couple days after the game, 45-7, Pitt beat Wofford on Saturday. Still most of the same feelings that I had from that game in the moment that we talked about on the post-game show. Pitt did what it was supposed to do. And I think we all know around here that you don't take that for granted, and not just because of the Youngstown State game in 2012, but also the Youngstown State game in 2017, and plenty of other games along the way, both for Pitt and nationally, where those FCS games, they can get away from you a little bit, and maybe you'll be a little bit closer than they should. I think most teams probably hold some things back. Cincinnati scored 60 or whatever it was against Tennessee State or whoever they played. And that's great. I'm sure Cincinnati did not show their entire offense. I'm sure they're going to have things that they held back, that they're going to bust out at Acrisure Stadium on Saturday. Everybody holds some back. But if you can go out in one of these games while holding some things back from your offense and your defense and still put in a dominant performance, which is ultimately what Pitt's win on Saturday was, then I think you've had a good day at the office. If you can go into that game, not show too much of your offense and defense, win by a lot, and get out healthy, that's a good day. You know what I mean? That's a good day. And I would say, by all of those definitions, Pitt had a good day on Saturday. You know the numbers, almost 500 yards of offense, 45 points. The defense was dominant, held Wofford to 126 yards, 75 of which came on their final play. Up until that point, they had 51 yards of total offense. They ran 2 snaps inside Pitt territory. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. 4 sacks, 6 tackles for loss, an interception, a fumble recovery. It wasn't an interception, it was a fumble recovery. I mean, it was just what you would hope for, and did Phil Dracovic air it out and throw it downfield 15 times for a ton of yards? No. He only took 1 or 2 shots, and he overthrew it wide open Bub Means on a play that would have been a touchdown, and you'd like to see him connect on that, particularly in a game like this. But Means had a step on the defenders. The ball just needs to be put there, and it's a scoring play. I think you liked all the components of that play as they came together, of Means getting open, Means using that speed and getting past the defenders. You just need the quarterback to have a little more touch on it, or just a little better accuracy, which is not an unimportant thing to note. We're not going to entirely dismiss that, not when some of the biggest concerns we've heard about Phil Dracovic are related to accuracy. It's not good that he missed that pass. Christian Vera was able to connect with Jake McConaughey when McConaughey got wide open, even more open than Means was. He was able to make that pass for the long touchdown throw of the game. But I mean, overall, 13 different guys caught passes. A bunch of, 6 different players had anywhere from 20 to 65 rushing yards, including Dracovic, who rushed for a touchdown. It was the kind of day you would hope to get. Could it have been better? Sure. Dracovic started the game rough. The first 2 series were not good. Then he settled into a groove and finished the first half, I think, throwing the ball really well. I thought he made some good reads. I thought he made some good connections. He gave his teammates and his playmakers a chance to make plays. That's what I said after the game on Saturday. It's what I continue to believe. And until we see him in a situation where they are trying to air it out, where they are trying to attack vertically, where they are going against a more challenging opponent than Wofford, I'm going to reserve judgment overall. I said this after the game on Saturday, and I still believe it, and I think it applies to not just Phil Dracovic, but the whole team. When you play a game like that, when you go into a game against a team like Wofford, you almost don't want to come out of it with any questions answered. You're going to go into a game like that with questions. It's the first game of the season. You have questions about the team. The questions about different units, different positions, different players. You have questions all over the place. Inevitably. I mean, it's just the nature of the beast, right? In any sport, at any level. You have questions when you head into the start of a season. And when you start the season against a team like Wofford, truth be told, you don't want to come out of the game with any answers. Because any answers you get from a game like that are going to be bad. If they go out and dominate in a game like that, you pretty much say, well, look at the level of competition. I'm not going to read too much into their success when you consider the level of competition. But if they go out and they struggle, if they play poorly, if Phil Dracovic is missing guys all over, if they can't block them to save their lives, if they're not getting any pass rush, if they're not covering the receivers very well, if the running backs aren't picking up any yards after, all these different things. If they're not doing those things, now you're getting answers, and those answers are concerning. The only answers you're going to get from a game like that are bad ones. And so if you come out of that game and you say, well, I'm still not convinced about any of these guys, good. Excuse me, that's a good thing. Because you don't want to come out with any answers. Like, oh, look, Sibo Flemister picked up a bunch of yards after the catch. Well, let's see him do it against Cincinnati. Good. That's right. Let's see him do it against Cincinnati and West Virginia and the ACC and Notre Dame. But it's better to have had him do it against Wofford than to not be able to do it. You know what I mean? Daniel Carter ran like he did and broke tackles and extended plays and all this stuff. Good. Let's see if he can actually do it against Power 5 competition. Are we still saying Power 5, by the way? I said that a few times on the post-game show, and it occurred to me, I was like, I don't know if I say Power 5 anymore. I mean, aren't we down to Power 4 at this point? Is it Power 4 plus Oregon State and Washington State? I'm going to say Power 5 because you know what I'm talking about. Like, good. Daniel Carter, great. Let's see what you do against Wofford. But it's still better than not being able to, or great what you did against Wofford. Let's see what you do against Power 5 teams. But it's still better than not being able to do it against Wofford. And so I didn't come out of Saturday's game with any answers. And I didn't want to come out of Saturday's game with any answers because those answers would have been bad. So a few other thoughts. I talked at length about Djokovic on Saturday and pretty much just summed it up right here. I thought he had a rough start to the game. I thought he was pretty good for the next 8 to 10 passes or so. Had a rough start to the second half. They made a couple nice plays in the third quarter before he exited. Christian Vera looked fine. Tough to really tell. Tough to get a gauge on it. At that point, he was playing with the second team offensive line of, let me see who the offensive line was that Vera was playing with. Ryan Barrett left tackle, Dorian Ford at left guard, Terrence Moore at center, BJ Williams at right guard, and Terrence Enos Jr. at right tackle. Jackson Brown got some snaps. This was all in the fourth quarter. Jackson Brown got some snaps at left guard. Ryan Baer's really interesting because Baer played left tackle in the fourth quarter, but he actually got some playing time earlier in the game. Let me find the exact spot where this happened. Pitt's fourth drive of the game, he came in at right tackle and played that entire series at right tackle. He did that again. I feel like he had one more drive. Yeah, he did that again on Pitt's second drive of the second half and then stayed out there for the fourth quarter playing left tackle. Now, he's listed on the depth chart as the backup. Let me double check that. I feel like he's he's Matt Gonsalves' backup at left tackle. I had to double check just to make sure. Terrence Enos Jr. is listed as the backup at right tackle behind Branson Taylor. Baer is listed as the backup left tackle behind Gonsalves. I think if anything were to happen to Gonsalves, Baer would get the call. And I think it's pretty clear when you see a rotation, even just for two series, that if something happens with Branson Taylor at right tackle, Baer will probably get the call there as well. I think Terrence Enos Jr., I'm not writing him off. I think he's still got a chance to contribute over the course of his career. But I don't think I'm going out on a limb and saying that Ryan Baer is the third tackle right now, the swing tackle, who will step in at either spot if Gonsalves goes down or Taylor goes down. If both of those guys go down, then I think Baer's at left tackle and Enos Jr. is at right tackle. But seeing Ryan Baer rotate in with the first team offensive line early like that, and twice in what seemed to be sort of methodical and pre-planned, I think that's pretty indicative of where he stands. It was also interesting. There was one other offensive line substitution I wanted to highlight here that I just kind of realized. Pitt's final drive of the first half ended up being a touchdown drive. This is the one where Phil Djokovic really kind of settled in. He had a 23-yard pass to Carter Johnson, 16 yards to Dejon Reynolds, 18 yards to Konate Mumfield, and then Rodney Hammond finished the drive with a touchdown. On that drive, Blake Zabovic switched from right guard to left guard, and BJ Williams, the freshman, stepped in at right guard. So Williams played in the fourth quarter when they were sort of emptying the bench, but he also played at the end of the second quarter, which is interesting. Now, I don't think Blake Zabovic is in danger of losing his job, either at right guard. I don't think he's in danger of losing a starting job. But maybe that was to get a look to see if, and I mean, this is just hypothesizing on my part. This is guessing on my part. Nobody told me this is the case, but maybe that was to get a look to see if Williams was a better option than Jason Collier, who played at left guard, started at left guard, and played the first three quarters other than that drive. This is interesting. Something to watch to see if they do that again in the Cincinnati game. If they rotate Baer in, which I wouldn't be opposed to. To be honest with you, I don't think it's the worst thing to rotate Ryan Baer in at one of the tackle spots. I think I think he's good enough. I've felt like he was good enough to be a starter. I think probably the Pitt coaches feel like he's good enough to be a starter, and keeping him active, getting him on the field in as many situations as possible. while not jeopardizing, the cohesion of your offensive line. I mean, I think that's huge, and that's only going to help you this season and beyond. Particularly if he is, as we think, maybe the best, overall offensive lineman on this team. Understanding that Mac Salvez and Jake Cradle and Blake Zbovic have been around for a long time, and they're older, they have more experience, so maybe they're a little bit more advanced than Bear. But Bear, just in terms of pure talent, might be the best lineman on this team. So it'll be interesting to see if they keep that rotation up. Flipping over to defense, they had 6 defensive ends that played in this game, played prominent snaps in the first 3 quarters. And I think as we look at who's playing significant snaps, and we're really going to focus on the first 3 quarters. The fourth quarter, they really just, they emptied the bench. They had, although it wasn't too far from what they were using throughout the game. In the fourth quarter, DeAndre Jules was still playing at defensive tackle. But Isaiah Neal got a snap at defensive tackle in the fourth quarter. But you had 6 guys really playing a decent number of snaps. Deion Hayes and Nate Temple started. Nakai Johnson and Bam Brema were first off the bench, and then Sam Okunlola, who got a sack, and Jimmy Scott came in as well. I don't know if they'll rotate 3 deep through those defensive ends all season long, but I do think Okunlola will be in the mix, and Scott could earn playing time. Obviously Hayes made an impact. We didn't really see much out of Temple. Brema got the fumble recovery, so he was able to, at least, affect the game in that way. We'll see how these guys develop and the impact that they make. But I don't think much is set in stone, as much as anything is ever really set in stone when it comes to college football and depth charts over the course of a season. I don't think much is set in stone in that way with the defensive ends. And it's going to be interesting to watch how they build that rotation. I think Hayes and Temple will start again. I think Johnson and Brema will be the first off the bench, and I think Okunlola and Scott will play. Probably Okunlola more than Scott. But, it always comes down to that, the fourth quarter. Not in a game against Wofford, but in the game during the season, it always comes down to the fourth quarter. And seeing who Charlie Partridge goes with in the fourth quarter this Saturday, next Saturday, the Saturday after that, and so on and so forth, is going to tell the story. And it really will start this Saturday. This might be a fourth quarter where we see Deion Hayes and Nate Temple out there all the time. This might be a fourth quarter where we see Deion Hayes and Bam Brema or, Sam Okunlola. Who knows? But I think in the past, Partridge has said, once you get to the fourth quarter, he's rolling with the guys who give them the best chance to win, the guys who are playing the best that day. It's almost like the first 3 quarters are an audition for the fourth quarter to some extent. And that's not to diminish the importance of the first 3 quarters. Defensive tackle, I think the rotation was about what we expected. I don't know if we had Devin Danielson and DeAndre Jules starting, but I think we expected Danielson and Jules, Tyler Bentley and David Green to be playing a lot. Elliot Donald rotated in there a little bit. Sean Fitzsimmons dressed but did not play. He'll be in that rotation as well once he's healthy and ready to go. Assuming, which I think is probably a safe assumption, that it was injury related, that kept him out of this game. I think he probably would be ahead of Donald on the depth chart and ahead of him in the rotation once he's as close to 100% as possible. But I don't think there was any real surprises there. Not much surprises in the way the linebacker rotation, Shane Simon, Bengali Kamara, Solomon DeShields, what we saw, what we expected. First rotation there came on the third series, Wofford's third series. They brought in Kyle Lewis as the star linebacker with Brandon George in the middle, and they kept Kamara out there at money linebacker, and on the very first snap, he got a roughing the passer penalty, and he came out, and Nick Lappy came in and played money linebacker as the second team money linebacker the rest of the way. Interestingly, though, so Wofford's next drive, all right, they come back out with the first team of Solomon DeShields and Shane Simon, but at money linebacker, they don't go with Kamara. I don't know if he was still in the doghouse from his roughing the passer penalty, and they don't go with Lappy. They go with Braylon Lovelace, making his debut in the defense, the true freshman from Leechburg. And Lovelace ended up playing money linebacker pretty much the whole game except that final snap, that the 75-yard touchdown. Actually, no, the fourth quarter. He played star linebacker for 2 drives. The 75-yard pass and then the drive before that, Lovelace did. So Lovelace actually to my eye, and maybe the coaches would tell me I'm an idiot and I don't know what I'm talking about, but to my eye, Lovelace played both money and star in this game, and I think he was the only linebacker to do so. Kyle Lewis also in the rotation there as the backup star linebacker, and I thought he played really well. I think he looks really good. I think he's going to be really good. And we've talked about that a lot during training camp, as we talk about those top 3 linebackers and talk about kind of how the depth fills out behind them. I brought up Lewis's name a lot because there's a lot of enthusiasm and excitement around the coaching staff about how good he's going to be. But I don't think there were too many surprises in terms of the rotations there, the positions, the alignments, that kind of thing. And then, corners, we saw what we expected to see. MJ Devonshire and Marquez Williams with AJ Woods in a rotation. And the safeties, I think, were about what we expected as well. PJ O'Brien and Steph Hall playing at the field safety, and Javon McIntyre and Donovan McMillan playing at the boundary safety. That's what we thought we would see. There was actually in the fourth quarter, they went with Stephon Hall. No, yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. Steph Hall and Donovan McMillan playing together. Hall playing the field safety, where he's the primary backup behind P.J. O'Brien, and McMillan playing the boundary safety, where he's the primary backup behind Javon McIntyre. So that's kind of how they rotated through. We'll see what kind of, I don't think there was as much rotation at safety as I expected there to be. They really didn't bring in Hall or McMillan until really Wofford's final drive of the first half. McMillan came in. Hall didn't play in the first half. He came in on the first drive of the second half and played with McIntyre. I don't think O'Brien played at all in the second half. We'll see how they end up rotating those guys. They may just want to go McIntyre O'Brien for 3, 4, 5, 6 series in a row, full half, full quarters, whatever they want to do. Or they might shorten it down and go maybe every 2 drives or every other drive. But I think when you have so many young and inexperienced players, you want to build continuity and you want to build a comfort level out there. And they're going to need Javon McIntyre and P.J. O'Brien to find that comfort level as they go. So, personnel notes, general observations, 2 days later, thoughts. We'll see what develops throughout this week, what they say, what they do, and everything that happens leading into Saturday night's game against Cincinnati. We'll have another live post-game show after that one. Can't wait. That's going to be a lot of fun, I'm sure, win or lose. Of course, we'll have a live Panther-Lair show on Wednesday night, 8:30 p.m. You want to make sure you tune in for that. Don't miss it. And the best way to not miss it is to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. And, of course, head over and check out the website, Panther-Lair.com, Pittsburgh.rivals.com, and don't forget Homefield. Homefieldapparel.com, promo code LAIR23 to get 15% off your first order. That's it for us now. We're going to go cook some burgers and dogs. I mean, a little bit later in the day. It's still early in the morning when you're watching this, I presume. But we're going to enjoy the Labor Day, enjoy the cookout. You do the same, and we will be back with you tomorrow morning for another Morning Pitt right here, youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com.